The Chiefs take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're back at Arrowhead, Josh. It's been a minute since the Chiefs have been back at Arrowhead. Very excited to talk to you guys about that. Tucker Franklin, Joshua Briscoe, hanging out with you here on a special edition of 21 Questions, going live with this 21 Questions. If you're listening to this on the audio podcast, I'm just trying to see. I'm just trying to see something. You know what the kids always say. Just trying to see
Yeah,
something. How live 21 Questions work. But Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel like, I hope, I expect that the
Mm,
live viewers will be able to feed us the questions that we need to get to at minimum 21, as we do, of course, every single week. If
right.
not exactly 21 every single week. Sometimes I lose count. But I think they'll give us the energy we need here. You know, we're far enough away from the Raiders game that feels like a lifetime ago. We're still a little ways away from Monday Night Football. We don't just get to the weekend; we got to get through it. Plus, Halloween season, spooky season,
True.
trick or treaters, November 1st. That's a Friday, so I can speak for you and me, Tucker. I think I can
Mm-hmm.
speak for you. I think you've RSVP'd. I can speak for the two of us when I say Friday, November 1st, very, very Halloweeny, continuing that spirit. Renee and I went to go see Nightmare Before Christmas in 3D
Oh,
on Wednesday night, and we got to see. I'd only seen that movie one other time, I think, despite it being in so many ways very, very much up my alley.
mm-hmm.
Seeing it in 3D, seeing the stop motion figurines within a little extra depth, really added an incredible layer to the experience. So I'm fully indulging in spooky season,
There you go.
and I hope the Chiefs maybe don't on Monday night.
That's a great point. Chiefs taking on the Buccaneers. Usually, an NFC game is where we usually see some spooky stuff happen, or the AFC South. There's really no in between. Those are the two spots there. But we're gonna be taking your questions, hanging out here as we get ready for a Monday night game. Right, so schedule's all kind of messed up when it comes to Monday night games, where even the Chiefs on the podium they push their schedule back a day. So today. Uh, on Thursday, excuse me, on Thursday we heard from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Their usual Wednesday press conference happened
Right.
on Thursday because of all of the game obviously happening. But appreciate you hanging out with us live at the time. If you guys are, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. First question I got for you is coming from the KCSN Discord, Josh. In the KCSN Discord, so where a lot of these questions are going to come from. Obviously, the live chat as well. But the KCSN Discord, that's how you can ask the majority of the questions on 21 questions. You go to kcsn.substack.com, sign up for $5 a month, $30 a year. In your email, in your confirmation email, you'll get a link to join the Discord. Go ahead and click that there. You can join us there. Thank you to everybody. David already in the chat, Reggie Comedy in the chat. He says, shout out to the homie Joshua Briscoe.
He put an E on there, but I
The
know
knee.
Reggie. I listen. Reggie's a funny guy. You think you're funny, Reggie? Adding an E to Briscoe, you are. I honestly, I have to I think I have to take the L on that one, because Reggie goes way back in
Yeah.
the unfortunate twists and turns of the Joshua Briscoe experience. So if anybody's earned the right to leave the E on, it might just be him.
That's fair. Looking at us now here, Chief 8120. How long can the Chiefs sustain their success of the last 7 years, Josh?
It's a fun question because it lets you think about the dynasty in whatever way, in whatever form, in whatever distance you want to think about it. Both in realizing how much they've accomplished in this first era and realizing that the most important thing, I'll go and do the easy one. The most important thing is to continue having Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. If you
Yeah.
have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, your ceiling is always dynasty, and your floor is probably winning the AFC West. I don't know, weird things will happen over years and years and years. But the first thing that I thought when I saw that question was about DeAndre Hopkins and Joshua Uche. And you might go, well,
Mm,
that's bizarre. They're probably not on the team next year, right? And I would say no, probably not. Although I think both of them have a chance to realize they are a good fit here and to be a long-term part of the team. But
right.
that's not why I thought of them. I thought of them because of the draft picks the Chiefs gave up to acquire them. It's the reason. Like there was a story about, and I saw another question about a cornerback,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at do the Chiefs have options to upgrade at corner, and I think they may, but I saw one proposed trade of Marshawn Lattimore for a second round pick, and I don't make taser bets anymore because Seth still hasn't let me pay off the last one,
True.
but I would be absolutely floored to see the Chiefs give up even a day 2 pick, second or third round, for a player, specifically for Lattimore. It's kind of an aside, I suppose. But that's a guy who's, I think, 1 year older than L'Jarius Sneed, who also has a big cap hit the next couple of years. It's not quite a rental, but if you wanted to pay a corner that money, go ahead and just keep L'Jarius Sneed instead of trading him away for a third, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to do that, and I am unreasonably confident in that fact, and I'm calling it a fact because they are still cognizant of the next 7 years. That is a part of the blueprint, and that comes with job security. For Brett Veach, he's not worrying about losing his job in the next 2 or 3 years if they have a couple of years without a Super Bowl. Obviously, Andy Reid can coach for as long as he wants to, and I tend to think that's going to be close to, if not through, 2029. Right. So you have organizational stability, but you still want to be the team that makes history in three-peats. You do that by go ahead and you find these rentals at very bargain bin prices. I can't believe they weren't in on Deontay Johnson for what the Ravens got him for. I would have made that move even after the Hopkins trade. We talked about that on Only Weird Games. But they're not going to make a move like that one that in some way mortgages their future. The way that you build out a healthy roster is with George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie, and really also the guys later on. That's kind of cheating because those are 2 first-round picks. But George Karlaftis is a really good starting defensive end. He's not an elite defensive end. I don't know that he ever will be, but he's really good. He's a starter, and he's making essentially no money because if he was a free agent from the jump, he'd be making significantly more than he is on his rookie contract. It's even more true for McDuffie. So the way that you do keep that level up for a dynasty is to continue reloading with these draft picks and these rookie contracts that fill out your roster. Hopefully you find some overachievers in there as well, which the Chiefs always seem to do. And then it's no problem to pay Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, to some extent Creed Humphrey. Trent McDuffie, I think, will be one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
We will see them, and I think, I don't know if it's Rashee Rice or if it's a different receiver. Someone after Travis Kelce will make more than $20 million per year on this team. I just think they've gotten away with it because they've had Travis Kelce and obviously the post-Tyreek Hill receivers. So all of that to say, it is about keeping that long-term planning in mind while making sure that you're going for NFL history this year. I think they've done a really good job of that.
That's a really good point about what's in front of them right now. Trevor Sycamore was on Chiefs News Daily earlier this week, and he was talking about how the Chiefs are all in, and you only got one shot, to refrain from going into an Eminem song, right? Yep. I think that, like, everyone recognizes what the Chiefs are doing, and they are going all in for this one singular season to make history. A lot of teams do go in all in on one season, and it ruins their future, right? If you kind of look at the Rams, kind of to an extent, the Jets. The Jets is a good one because, like, I respect the Jets for taking the gamble with Aaron Rodgers, right? Yeah. You're in the situation where I get it. You got to do that. You got to open a window, try to get a window there. It just didn't work, right? It just hasn't worked. That's okay. Sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. At least they tried. The Carolina Panthers are not trying. There's other organizations that are not trying. And I do think that, like, when you look at teams that try to go all in, the Rams is the first team I think of just because them picks, right? Of just like they were mortgage, like they're like, we don't care about these picks, we just care about right now. And then you start to see a little bit of like what happens when you don't have a day one or your earliest pick is late day 2. Like you're starting to see the ramifications of that.
Ramifications of that, Tucker.
The running was
Tucker.
On the wall the
ramifications. Sorry, I just had to make sure you didn't miss what you did there. That was poetry.
Thank you. What? I didn't do that on purpose.
It was good though.
That was
Sometimes
pretty sick.
Accidental.
That is true. Wow.
I'm sorry. You were on a heater, but I almost fell out of my chair at ramifications.
Ramifications was good. I could have said consequences too. There's several words I could have used, but ramifications was the one I subconsciously said that.
I think your subconscious knew what it was doing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. My subconscious is way smarter than my. What is the other one? Your subconscious and your just regular conscious, I guess?
I think so. I'm not sure. My subconscious might know, but my conscience doesn't.
My conscience, like the conch shell, the magic conch shell. That's what I think of when I think of conscious. But yes, it's not an easy thing to do, to think about the future while also trying to win currently now. Brett Veach has done a good job of it for like I think the last 3 years, right? I know that the Kadarius Toney trade might not be looked back on in great light, and the McCole Hardman trade is kind of annoying because you gave up a 6th-round pick for a guy that you could have signed in the offseason, right? Same thing with the Melvin Ingram one, right? It's like legitimately the
Oh, I
same
forget
thing.
about that one. Yeah.
They were all trades that they helped them win a Super Bowl in those situations. And that's a hard thing to do because they didn't give up a ton of capital for those guys either. And again, continually hitting in the draft is a big reason that they're going to be able to sustain their next success. And the draft is just a big, huge lottery. That's all it is. It's a crapshoot, especially when you have drafts kind of like the one coming up that's not as deep as it maybe some others in the past have been. It'll be interesting to see how the Chiefs can maximize their undrafted talent, which they've had a very good track record of finding undrafted guys to play a lot of snaps, and they're late round guys like your Isaiah Pacheco's. Like, I don't think Leo Chanel's technically a late round guy. What was he?
No,
Like
but
a
Jalen
fourth?
Watson sure was.
Yeah, Jalen Watson, yeah. Joshua Williams, wasn't he down there too? Like
Fourth, I think, day 3, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, look, they've done a really good job in that regard. I think that also helps. But as you mentioned, the capital that they're giving up, they're not giving up that high capital. They're getting a lot out of guys that people don't expect a lot out of, right? Like Kareem Hunt is one of them that is just like it kind of floors me, truthfully,
Yes,
Josh.
me too.
I it is insane. Clayton, thank you for the correction. Round 3 for Leo. Yeah, that dude's a dog. That makes sense why he went to round 3. He probably should have went round 1. It floors me how much they've been able to get out of Kareem Hunt and Jerick McKinnon even a few years ago, last year even, and what they were able to do with these guys that seemingly on their last legs, that other teams are done with them. Juju Smith-Schuster. Then they come to Kansas City. This is the most New England Patriots thing, like part of the dynasty that has ever been for the Chiefs. This is the most that I'm like, oh, yeah, the Chiefs actually are the Patriots now. When you see guys that are down on their luck, I'll say it in air quotes, down on their luck, on the streets, on the couch, watching from home, and they come out and they have 130 yards in a game. And then they come out and they rush for over 100 and are now all of a sudden your bell cow running back on a team that is shifting their identity to be a rushing team. It's one of those things, too, where look, sometimes you just have to get lucky. I talked about that on That Football Show. Sometimes you just have to be good and you have to be lucky to win Super Bowls. The Chiefs have been both the past 7 years. They got lucky that they didn't trade for Paxton Lynch in that draft before.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yes, correct.
They got lucky. I don't know if you can say they got lucky with Patrick Mahomes. They were able to trade up for Patrick Mahomes. He was able to be the quarterback that he was able to be, a talent, right? And then luck also comes in with a lot of the other things. They've had very good injury luck up to this point, truthfully. This season has been the otherwise, but long road to a short thought there of just everything's kind of gone right, and you can't expect everything to go right for the next 7 years, right?
Right.
In terms of luck, but they've put themselves in the right position for the luck to pan out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there have also been stumbles. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was ultimately not a good first-round pick. We'll see about Felix Udike-Uzomah. He's developing, and he's listen, not to relitigate this, but I saw David mentioned Edwards-Helaire in the chat, which is what pushed me there.
He did, yeah.
Not to fully relitigate all of this, but if Felix is a third defensive end in a rotation next year, even that's not a good result for a first-round pick.
Right.
But it's a useful pass rusher. Hey, the Chiefs just traded for a useful pass rusher. Every team in the league would like to have a useful pass rusher.
Yeah.
Interestingly for Felix, he's kind of building the other way, which again, Nate mentioned this on Weird Games, but like Felix becoming relatively trustworthy on first and second down while third down's kind of still the issue for him. It's like, oh, well, there's no way that was the plan. But if that works out, you can be in the bottom 30% of outcomes as a first round pick at a premium position and still be useful. If you are in the bottom 30% of outcomes as a running back in a non-premium position, you pay the price for that. But so the Chiefs have had some misses. And to your point, this was something that I think we discussed off and on a little bit over the last several years, but obviously nobody really wanted to talk about this more. The fact that the Chiefs really did have good injury luck by and large in terms of the long season-ending stuff. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes had a lot of concerning injuries in playoff runs, almost always, it seems like. You had your Travis Kelce issues last year. Not to say at all that they've been completely healthy. The last time though that they were like decimated at a position, they lost a blowout Super Bowl because the offensive line could not recover from what they had suffered. So
Yeah.
this year has been the regression to the mean, and now you've lost wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and running back 1 early in the year. Now you're down cornerback 2 in addition to that. While Juju and Dana have missed some time. This would be, if they get it done, this would be the most impressive Super Bowl of this era. I don't even think that's necessarily, I don't know if that's necessarily a hot take. I'm just saying it out loud because I haven't really thought that far ahead. The first one, to me, I think will almost has to always be the most special because it's just something that for the first 20 years of my life, as I was watching football in that space, I just never thought we'd see that. I just really, you watch, I believe he's been on this channel before, and he seems like a great fella, and I was glad to have him at the time, and I look on those eras with some amount of fun nostalgia now. But you watch enough Matt Castle, and you're like, I just don't think it's gonna happen, regardless of who those guys were, right?
Yeah.
The team never had that gear. Anyway, all that to say, having Mahomes, having Andy Reid, and then that being the core of what you can do, it does give you some wiggle room, even when you don't. If you don't get 100% lucky, if you get 60% lucky, maybe Mahomes can drag you over the end of that race. And I think that's what we're hoping to see him prove that he can do this year.
All in all, I think that maybe the first sentence that you said answering this question was probably the right answer, and is as long as Patrick Mahomes is quarterback, they'll be all right.
Yeah,
like that'll probably be it. Truthfully, like that's gonna be it's really all that they need, I think, is Patrick Mahomes. He's going to keep that window open for as long as possible. Checking over on the KCSN Discord. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us here, by the way. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Drop in the chat where you're watching from. Appreciate this. I did see, I get the name. Kyle C. asked if I got my secondary breaking news team jacket yet. Josh, I don't know if you saw this. On Monday, the Chiefs made the trade, right, for Joshua Uche, Bobby Boucher. That's how I remember how to say it, by the way. I think that's how a lot of people remember how to say it.
Don't be douche, pronounce it Uche.
Look at that.
How about that?
Sign us up. We could be somebody's campaign manager for anything. Student council, mainly.
Yeah, I could do that. I could help you run a student council campaign for sure.
My student council slogan was "Don't be a sucker, vote for Tucker."
That rules. Was there an alternate one in the cutting room?
Well, see, I was in 4th grade, so no. I didn't run for student council after that.
I think we run again on like Mother Tucker, or we got so many options. I'm sure that was never annoying to you in any of those formative ages.
Well, I used to start up. I did a podcast by myself. Yes, I did win, Charlie. Thank you for asking. I did win. I did a podcast, shocker. That was called For Tuck's Sake.
Awesome.
And that was like one of the first podcasts I was like, oh, yeah, this is a good name. And I've tried to carry it over to like other things. It just like hasn't. And maybe if like I ever just like go live, it's gonna be For Tuck's Sake is what it's gonna be called. Just hanging out with you guys for Tuck's sake. But yeah, no, there's a lot of puns you can roll with Tucker. I don't think I need to fill in the gaps for you guys there. But okay, sorry. Back to the breaking news team. It was just Maddie and I because on Monday, traditionally busy day for a lot of people, especially after a Chiefs game. And Charlie, I appreciate you being so kind. Have I been working out? Absolutely not.
Hell yeah, dude.
Look like I've got some muscle on me. Thank you. Yeah, it does kind of look like I got it must just be the shirt. It makes me look ripped. Speaking of this shirt.
Oh, tell me about it.
Dude, you're getting the full ADHD treatment here in this podcast.
I really
am. of me just rambling.
I'm never going to hear about this jacket.
No, you're not. This shirt you can find in the link in the description, which is These Are the Good Old Days. I designed this one. Joe Moore, a phenomenal graphic artist in Kansas City, did our other stuff as well. Really love Joe's style, everything that he does. I've always been a big fan of Joe and his work. But he was kind enough to create some designs for us. You can find that shopkcsn.com. You can buy it on the YouTube if you're looking at it. It's linked up with the YouTube shop as well. I'll tag it on the video. If you are seeing that around 20 minutes, I'll tag that on the video so that'll pop up and you just click on it and you can buy it. But
ShopKCSN.com, right?
ShopKCSN.com. Yes.
Boom. Boom.
ShopKCSN.com. Doug says Tucker is doing his Seth impression, and golly, has there ever been anything more accurate? I don't think so. Anyway, back to the jacket. I went live for the Joshua Uche trade, right? I said, trade comes in, get the buzz alert on my phone. I was like, all right, let's spring into action. I was at the office, the KCSN Worldwide headquarters. You've been there. And I started to go live, and I quickly realized I don't have the jacket. Don't have the jacket, don't have the hat. And I thought I was also wearing a Salvador Perez shirt because like Salvi's awesome. He's super cool. He actually won the Roberto Clemente Award that day. And always remember that day. And then I realized I didn't, because I didn't think I was gonna go on air, Josh. I was like,
no, of course.
I was like, oh, it's Monday. I don't think I have any shows until later in the week. I think I'm good. I'll just wear, my Salvador Perez jersey. And then we go live. People were asking, "Hey, Tucker, where's the jacket at?" And I had to give them the lowdown, and they said, "You need 2 jackets. You need an office."
You're gonna have to have a jacket at the office. You simply have to. This cannot happen again. You might need to have a jacket in your car.
Car jacket. 3 jackets.
Car jacket. Do not go up. Do not go to a menswear store or a thrift store. Don't go anywhere and just yell, "I need a car jacket!" Car jacket!
A cardigan.
Hey!
There we go. That's what Josh got on. I don't think I can pull off a cardigan. We'll see though.
Oh, you 1,000% can. 1,000%. We're gonna talk about my jacket for a while now.
Yes,
I just started combing eBay recently for like vintage cardigans because a lot of the ones on Amazon are from like one of those companies with a fake made up name that's always like 5 letters. It's always like Shoebee or Hot Guy. I don't know. They're just always ridiculous. Like, and you get them and then they're made of like tissue paper and lotion
for sure.
Or something. I don't know. It's always kind of something's wrong with those.
Huh?
So I started looking for just good vintage ones on eBay. Keeps them out of a landfill. Gets you more of a vintage style. This one that I'm currently wearing is like a core part of my uniform now, I think, because I can't remember who did it first. I think maybe Chris Hemsworth, one of those famous Chris's, I believe, had a full like Big Lebowski sort of change for himself that was just like tank tops and like thin cardigans, and I was like, oh, hold on, that I've been like accidentally building out that aesthetic for a while now. Yeah. That's my direction. So, I can be out here, shoulders out, catching the breeze right before podcast time. Podcast time comes up, put the cardigan on.
It's good.
Bing, bang, boom. This is my fit now.
I love it. I do love a good fit talk in the middle of a Chiefs podcast.
Now, Jake says I say this with love, boys, but maybe Seth isn't the problem on Only Weird Games. Now, Jake, I'm not gonna fundamentally take this personally. I'm just gonna note that this is a different environment. Very. I am a man of many faces and of many vibes that I can present when necessary. And so when Tucker hit 6 different spots on the map like Jeffy from Family Circus trying to talk about his jacket, I thought, you know what? This is a good time for me to talk about my jacket. Sort of forgetting that we were theoretically in a Chiefs show. I'm very aware of the fact that people wish we would talk more football during Weird Games. So that's when my role changes.
Right. I think that we do a good job on this show advertising what it is, right? Like we do talk about football, but like, look, I can only talk about what people ask me about, and people ask me about the second jacket, and I just
that's true. That's a good point. This all started from a question.
Mm-hmm. Guys asked about the second jacket. I want to give a shout out to people just hanging out with us live: Jake Dennis, Charlie Rogers, Latrell, Doug. Shout out Doug, my man Doug.
Love it, Doug.
KL. A lot of usuals, a lot of familiar faces here in the chat. Mike Tinney says my favorite KCSN show. 2 questions. Have we made it 2 questions?
We've gotten it 2, but one of them was about your jacket, I think.
Oh yeah, and also we've hit the 25-minute mark, so we gotta take a break. We'll be back with 19 more questions after this.
I think we've earned it.
We'll see.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSN21. That's mintmobile.com/KCSN21. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSN21. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. I'm going to kick us off with a question here from the KCSN Discord, just DRK. Besides the Bills, what's the most likely loss over the next 6 games? Let me read them out to you. You have Tampa. You got Denver. At Buffalo. At Carolina. Vegas. At home. Chargers at home. Other than the Bills.
Yeah, aside from the Bills, I hadn't really done just a little scan through of that portion of the schedule to the point that I think the question asker was trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed, to go backwards first.
Yep.
I assumed that the Chiefs would have 1 or 2 losses through their first maybe 4 games. Just Ravens and Bengals really kind of, and hey, those games were close. So this is how football happens. And then the Niners, obviously, before the season felt like a very touchy one. This might be kind of wild. You know what? I was tempted to say the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Without, it doesn't seem like Mike Evans will be back for this, right? Obviously, Chris Godwin won't be. So I think that could have been true with both receivers. Just weird Monday night Baker Mayfield magic. Who knows? You gotta find somebody. You gotta find somebody who can either do something about the Chiefs defense, or really slow down the Chiefs offensively and kind of pick at some of their issues. It's got to be Denver or Los Angeles. It has to be.
Yeah.
Divisional games are weirder. I don't think in any way whatsoever that Bo Nix is going to have a big day against Spags' defense. I do not think that'll happen. But maybe there's a little bit there defensively that can, they've had a pretty impressive pass rush for the most part this year. You get one great corner. So maybe the Broncos defensively have a little bit of a chance in a low-scoring game. I respect the Chargers, but I don't think we're going to see them be able to pull that off by that point. And it's definitely not the Panthers, and I don't think it can be the Raiders again. If we're including the Browns, I might say at Cleveland with a real quarterback.
Yeah, Jameis did just win Player of the Week, by the way. I don't know if you saw that.
Did you cut it off? I don't know if that were that cut off. What 1, 2, 3?
Yeah,
4, 5,
it was
6,
cut off at Chargers.
Okay, so then I mean, I might go Denver, and I am not a particular Bo Nix guy at the moment. But that's a hard pick.
He won AFC AFC Rookie of the Month for October. I thought that was interesting.
Seems unnecessary. Every other rookie not play.
Right. Yeah. I guess Xavier Worthy's not playing that good, I guess. Yeah, looking at that schedule, man, it's like there's a realistic possibility they waltz into Buffalo 9-0. And
if they lose that game, which is
I will not
plausible, it won't feel like, they blew an undefeated streak. I mean, it just that game does split up these next 5 in particular, where it's like 2 teams you should definitely handle, 1 very good team, 2 teams you should thump.
Yeah,
interesting.
It is. Yeah, their schedule. So Matt Verderame and I have talked about this somewhat at length. I think we talked about it a lot more like during the offseason of just like their schedule this year was front loaded. And it was front loaded, and they play 2 divisions that suck, frankly. The AFC West, they got to play those 2 teams twice, those 3 teams twice, excuse me, and they're not good. They play the NFC South this year, and the NFC South is historically garbage. Uh, and the other teams that they play, I mean, Buffalo obviously a big one. They played the Bengals and the Ravens. They played well, but the Ravens have lost 3 games this season. Like, and some weird games as well. Like they lost to the Browns.
Yeah.
They lost to the Raiders.
Yeah. I thought the Raiders beating the Ravens was going to be the game we looked back on after the season and went like, how the bleep did that happen? And then they immediately lost to the Browns. It's like, oh well, maybe that will be the one too. Even the Texans, obviously further down the line, they're a much more banged up team than they were. I mean, obviously before the season, but like suffering real injuries at wide receiver, something the Chiefs obviously know about. They'll be back to full strength other than Diggs, I think, by that point, right? Most likely, assuming no other injuries come through. It was a front-loaded schedule that they got through, and I don't really have any interest in like the undefeated season talk because I don't think they will go undefeated. Right. And I don't know, man. I don't really care if they do. Maybe it's because the three-peat is the thing hanging over. Like there is a historic thing that we should all care about, and it's winning another Super Bowl and them three-peating. I don't have a strong feeling if they're 16-0 going into that Broncos game in January and they don't need it for anything. I don't even know if I care if the starters would play. You know what I mean? So I do think they will drop a game or two along the way, but it is very interesting to realize that at Buffalo is the only one you can really look at from a distance until at Pittsburgh on Christmas all of a sudden seems a little friskier. That's it, though.
Do you know why?
On Christmas 2 years in a row.
Yeah. You know why I think that game is going to be interesting on Christmas? Because that might be a Carson Wentz special, especially if they beat Buffalo. If they beat Buffalo, that's going to be
You think we might see 2 weeks of Carson Wentz and then a bye week? You think Patrick Mahomes won't play football for 3 weeks? I'd love to see that. Let Travis Kelce sit in an ice bath for a month.
I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. Obviously, I think they're going to play against like Houston. So let's say they beat Buffalo, but they lose to like Denver the week prior, right? So
sure.
They lose to Denver the week prior. Let's give them a loss in this scenario. And then they beat Buffalo, have the head-to-head on them, and then what would that be? Realistically, that would be a 3-game lead, right? Because they'd have the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
No,
it's wrapped. If they beat the Bills and Texans, the AFC is over.
Right.
I mean, it might already be over.
Yeah, true. It's gonna be it. They're in a really good spot. I know we joked about this with like Matt Hamilton, the lab guys, and us would be like, look, we could have this sucker wrapped up by November. Like we had joked about it at the beginning of the season. Like, look at the schedule, like that stretch where they have to play 4 games in 10 days or 17 games in 3 days or whatever it is. They could realistically sit their starters for one of those games because everything will already be wrapped up and they won't have anything to play for. And
it is interesting that they do have the three remaining 6-2 teams in the AFC. They have not played yet, but will, being the Bills, the Texans, and the freaking Steelers.
Mike Tomlin should win every head coach of the year award ever, and they should just be actually. You know what they should do? Rename it to the Mike Tomlin head coach of the year.
Ooh, I like that. I think that's good.
I made a tweet about Andy Reid not ever winning coach of the year. It's like kind of crazy. Like you have to like kind of suck.
He won it once in Philly, right?
2002, yeah, I think is what it was.
God,
yeah.
2002. It's been 22 years.
Yeah. Blasphemy, by the way. But I like Mike Denny's suggestion. Usually like preseason give starters a half. Yeah, I can see that. That'd be pretty
think
cool.
they could absolutely do something like that, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like other than like Tampa Bay was kind of the one that I was like, that seems like a sneaky game that they could drop just because of Baker's frisky. Those guys are getting after it a little bit. Then they lost both of their top receivers in the same game.
Yeah.
Which was also against the Ravens, wasn't it?
I wasn't watching that live. I don't remember why. Was that also Monday night?
It was a Monday night game. Yeah, I think it was against the Ravens. That was the day they had the dual Monday night games going on, but one was only on ESPN Plus.
Yeah. Yep, you're right.
Good work by them. Good work by ESPN there. Tank the Frank says, what quarterback in this draft class would be the best backup for Patrick?
Sorry, is his name actually Tank the Frank?
Yeah, no, it's Tank the Frank.
Around. That's very funny. Sorry, I
didn't Freudian slip there. Best quarterback in this draft class to back up Patrick Mahomes, Brady Cook.
Sorry, I blacked out. Was the question I don't want to be. He's hurt, right? I don't want to be mean spirited. What was the best backup for Mahomes?
Yeah.
Was it specifically college, or did you just want to get Brady Cook on an NFL roster?
No. I was uncalled for.
Was it?
No. It's what quarterback in this draft class would be the best backup for Patrick Mahomes? I only really know off the top of my head. I mean, it kind of depends on who. Like,
I guess Shedeur Sanders is my answer.
I guess if you just Google 2024 draft, it doesn't bring up the NFL draft. That's kind of ludicrous. You should be able to just. Also, this happened on the breaking news team too. I asked people how to Google better, like how to Google faster.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
I'm a great Googler.
Your experience with Matt Verderam, he Googles insanely fast during a podcast. Like he's like, oh yeah, let's think about Trey Hendrickson, and then he'll just like type. He's like, his contract. I was like, how did you get there so fast?
What do you want? What do you want to know? Give me something to Google. Let's see how I can get there. I think my hands are here. You can see.
Okay, all right, you ready?
Yep.
Google 2024 NFL draft quarterbacks.
Do you want 2025 NFL draft quarterback?
Yeah, I guess I do want 2025. Yeah, that's a good point.
That makes sense. Yeah, so Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe.
I don't need the deep cuts. That's Meyer.
Okay, hold on. Cade Klubnik. I'm really just Jackson Dart. I was just trying to show off that I did get from draft class to names very quick. That's what these hands are made for typing. Yeah. How about I'm not down to QB 40 here now. How do you feel about Tommy Mellott out of, is that Montana? Montana State. Look at that. What about Incarnate Word quarterback Zach Calzada?
The only Incarnate Word quarterback I know is Cam Ward, who's now the quarterback at the Miami Hurricanes.
Hey, Jalen Daniels and Brady Cook, 14-15, back-to-back. How does that make you feel?
Makes me feel better about Brady Cook, I guess.
Do you know that Houston's quarterback's name is Donovan Smith?
I did know that.
I just learned that. I cannot be asked to talk about college football. I'm not like militant against it. I just haven't really been plugged in, and I'm learning a lot of names right now.
Charlie Rogers says, "How about former Wildcat Will Howard? He
let him come in and run some sneaks.
He does seem like that he would be a backup quarterback. He has like backup NFL quarterback written all over him. You know, just like how 100%. He carries himself. I've never talked to him, but it just seems like he'll be a vet in the league for a while. I've watched his game though. He is pretty mobile with it. I'm curious how long Carson Wentz will want to stay around though. You know?
Yeah, good question. I think you know what? I don't know that Andy would do this just for kicks, but like I bet Carson Wentz would love to get out there in week 17 and just sling it around a little bit and try to show some teams that he's got a live arm still. Yeah. He does. I imagine that it would make a lot of sense for Wentz to stay with the Chiefs until someone wants to give him a shot to compete for a starting job. Like, and maybe he's the guy you sign when you draft, the third or fourth quarterback in a class. You want to kind of put the idea of a potential. Maybe he's somebody's Sam Darnold next year, essentially.
That's a good call. I'm still looking at quarterbacks. Riley Leonard. I don't know if you know anything about Riley Leonard. He looks 6'4". Like a Riley Leonard.
Let's go, Riley Leonard.
That could be a fun. He seems like a backup quarterback. Kyle McCord. That guy seems like a backup quarterback.
Can we get Anthony Richardson to Andy Reid? One AR to another. Let Andy Reid have one offseason with Anthony Richardson, start him through 3 preseason games, and then let the bidding begin.
2 firsts. 2 firsts for that guy. I don't hate that idea, truthfully. He did it. Well, who was the quarterback he flipped?
Someone in the chat might actually save us here. Kevin Kolb. Yes, I think that's right.
Flipping Kevin Kolb is wild, by the way. That should be studied. That needs to be studied.
I think about that all the time. Obviously, not enough to remember for sure that it was Kevin Kolb, but like that move feels like it should happen more often, and it feels like Andy Reid should do it more. Matt Flynn didn't get traded. He got a big contract, and then the Seahawks drafted Russ. Right? I don't think he was a trade.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody go save. Well, the Chiefs should go save Jason Bean off of the Colts practice squad. That's a good.
Shout out
Thank you,
Jake. Yeah, and Jason Bean did play pretty well in preseason for the
I can't. Do you remember? I don't. I love. Welcome to 21 Questions, where we're going to the Colts depth chart.
Oh, buddy,
because they did
Lay it
keep
on me.
three. They kept 3 quarterbacks, but I can't remember who the third one was.
Sam Ellinger.
Sam Ellinger, yeah, which is
Buddy,
crazy because he's so
that was
busy with
dome.
baseball.
That was all off the dome right there.
That's an amazing poll.
Stick in the head that I know that Sam Ellinger is the 3rd string quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts.
There's so much dumb stuff that's just gonna stay in the folds of our gray matter for 15 years. Like, I'll never forget Jackie Battle. I'll always remember the Jackie Battle days. But it's like, hey, quick, when's your mom's birthday? I know my mom's birthday. That's a bad example.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone's phone number. My phone knows it. I can just say, hey, phone, call whoever I want to talk to, and my phone will handle that for me.
That's true.
But if I'm like, hey, who's that Chiefs running back with the violent-sounding last name? It's not going to know. I got to know Jackie Battle.
Yeah, Peyton Hillis.
Oh, Peyton Hillis. Don't get me started. Don't get me started naming guys.
Incredible. Yeah. This podcast is just going to turn into Josh and I naming
Thomas Jones. I mean, Thunder and Lightning with him and Jamal, huh?
I watched a NFL Films video, actually. There's one on YouTube about him talking about like him and Thomas Jones. It's pretty good.
Jamal talking about him, Thomas Jones?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Jamal,
okay.
Jamal talking about it. It's pretty good. It's just kind of like a little mini. I think it came out like a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But it was about just like his career, and he talks about that for a while. I thought it was pretty good.
I have a question for you.
Okay,
because Jamal Charles and Thomas Jones went Thunder and Lightning. How do you feel about Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery going Sonic and Knuckles?
I think it's solid.
I kind of love it. I kind of do. I'm a little video game guy. We know this.
Yeah, I like it. Look, I'm a sucker for a good nickname, right? So, do you know the origins of it? They didn't give it to themselves, right? Was that Dan Campbell that gave it to them?
I think they kind of gave it to themselves, which does ding it if that's the case. But I think they were getting called like Thunder and like, or no, because last year it was, because it's Detroit, they were calling them Rhythm and Bruise, which is maybe
that's
better.
Sick. Yeah,
it's really good, but it's harder to brand. Like, I understand, and like, Speed and Power, Sonic and Knuckles, I think is also very good, but it might not be as good as Rhythm and Bruise. Like, that's elite.
Rhythm and Bruise is very good.
Really good.
Speaking of really good, I think that we can cook up some really good stuff here. This question from Isaac Hugh. Shout out Isaac. What's the group chat name for the wide receiver group now with D-Hop?
Hold on. I was thinking about framing it in like in kind of a band supporting a lead artist and kind of like D-Hop and the Drops.
Oh.
But that's not really fair.
You don't want it to be like a Stephon Diggs tweet either.
No, it's not. Definitely not DeAndre Hopkins and the little boys or whatever.
And the young boys.
And the young boys. That's no
Unk and the young boys.
And Juju keeps the age up, and he's not. I mean, he had a drop, I guess, this year that was noteworthy, but it's not really his reputation. I don't know. Are you cooking up something? I'm willing to brainstorm here.
It seems like Xavier Worthy likes to call every player older than him Unk.
Yeah.
Because I think Juju even said that Xavier Worthy calls him Unk, and he's like, what, 27, right? Like, he's not that old.
Yeah. No.
And D-Hop, I think, also said that Xavier Worthy called him Unk, which, like, makes more sense, right?
It does.
That one makes a little
Xavier
bit more
Worthy
sense.
literally could have watched DeAndre Hopkins at, like, age 10 in the NFL.
At his peak.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like,
I mean, Hop has been in the league for 12. This is his 12th year, and Worthy is 21, right? He literally could have been 10 years old watching DeAndre Hopkins start to take over the league at age 10.
That's wild to think about.
Crazy.
Sometimes I think about that when we have like Dustin Colquitt, he hang time with Colquitt in that show. He'll have guys on the pod that, he played with. That's usually how that goes. And when I'm like, I was a really big, I always like hesitate before. I'm like, big fan of your work when I was a kid. Like when in middle school, loved watching you play because there's like, thanks. I'm old now.
I have aged rapidly.
Right.
None of them,
so
nothing is as good as Aaron Rodgers handing or throwing the ball to Braylon Allen, which I believe is the oldest to youngest player in the league connecting there.
That is true.
Braylon Allen was born in 2004. Was Aaron Rodgers drafted in 2004?
Probably.
It's
He was
Aaron Rodgers could
03 maybe.
100% be his dad.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it was 03.
05. 05 was his first year.
Dang it.
His first year in Green Bay, it looks like there.
What an experiment.
So he was drafted. Braylon Allen was born in January 2004 also. So, I mean, yeah. Aaron Rodgers clearly could have been Braylon Allen's father.
Charlie Rogers asked us a question. So, what should the Chiefs' strategy be after Hunt inevitably wears down? Get another running back for cheap and run them to the ground. And then after that person runs down, get another running back that's an undrafted free agent or late round pick, and then run them into the ground. What do you think they're doing with Isaiah Pacheco?
Yep. And that's what it should be. I mean, that's the only reasonable path I think you can take here is run Hunt until the wheels fall off, essentially. Try to be responsible about it, to spread it out, to delay that, air quotes inevitability. But yeah, I would go from Hunt to maybe a little more Carson Steele as his hands maybe get a little more reliable. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a healthy scratch every week now. He can be in the mix. He's not the guy you really want, I don't know, frankly, doing a whole lot in this offense, but he's in the mix. And then hopefully you have Pacheco come back around that time.
You got to have your glue guys, your vibes guy. Look.
Yep.
So Nick Leckie, we used to do a podcast together, obviously only outside the trenches, BJ and I with Nick Leckie, and then it was Nick Leckie, myself, and Big B. And then Nick Leckie retired from the podcast game, had to hang up the microphone. One of my favorite things to do with Nick is, as a former Super Bowl champion, right, on the Super Bowl champion winning team, as a guy who had been in the league for a minute, I think 7 or 8 year NFL vet, my favorite thing would just be ask him like normal questions about just like life in the NFL, right? And one of the things was that I asked him was like, never bum you out to be a healthy scratch? He's like, no, I loved it. He's like, I loved being a healthy scratch. He's like, I still get paid and I don't have to like play the game. Like some people that would obviously bother them, right? Because they're very competitive. They want to play the game. But he's like, I would know by like Wednesday or Thursday if I was going to be a scratch or not. And then I would know if I needed to like be mentally ready for the game. But if I didn't, I would just be a healthy scratch, get my check, be a cheerleader on the sidelines, and just
get out there, practice the next week.
I was like, man, I think that would probably be the best role. That's like if someone's like, what do you want to be on the NFL team? What role would you want? Not the star quarterback. I don't want to be the guy who's a healthy scratch every week. There for the vibes. Glue guy.
I'd be Cam Thomas. I'd like to get my 3 reps every once in a while, but you have to prepare a lot for that, though, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Knowing on like Wednesday you're not gonna play, just like you get a good practice in, maybe get some good lifts in, some good reps during practice. And like, you know what? I don't know if we're gonna use you this week. Sounds good, Coach. Appreciate you.
All right, Coach. Sure.
All right. Yeah, I'll be cheering. Need me on scout team.
More time for my college football dynasty.
There you see. Yes.
Perspective.
Yeah. And look, Nick has told me this too. I think Nick has talked about this on the podcast where he was a guy who didn't necessarily like love football, but he was good at it. And he, obviously pursued that route of like making it a career for him. He wasn't like in love with the game, but he knew he was good at it and he knew he had a talent and he knew how to utilize it, right? So it was a job for him and it wasn't like a passion thing for him, which I do think that there are a lot of players still in the NFL like that today. And not everyone is going to be gung-ho passionate as, your Andy Reid's or your Steve Spagnuolo's or Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's lucky that they've got a team full of that many guys that are so gung-ho about it and not as much as like, this is a job. This is business. This is I'm just here so I don't get fined type of guys.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you.
Hugh Jazz. Welcome, Hugh Jazz.
Good point, Hugh Jazz. Says James Winchester probably doing all right. I'd do that. Good point. Good point. You got to be really good at that one thing.
That's true,
point,
though.
That's just got to be. Here's and you've on multiple occasions have as well, I know, but I have gotten to spend quite a bit of time with Kendall Gammon.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
Great
man,
guy.
that guy gets a lot of mileage out of saying that he was always the worst athlete on the field. I take issue with that at each turn because he ends out there covering punts, and he's also a big guy. Maybe he wasn't the quickest, but he's an NFL body.
Yeah.
But I long snapped in high school, and I feel like I could learn if I was really good at it. I feel like I could learn to embrace that lifestyle, and you just become kind of a trick shot artist and try to get really good at sprints. And then you hope that maybe once a game or every couple of games, you get to really lay a hit down on somebody, some poor unsuspecting returner doesn't expect somebody with no gloves on to smack them. I think that's fun.
Yeah,
a lot of pressure though. Tell you what,
there is.
Everybody talks a lot about Harrison Butker nailing a kick, talk pretty frequently about last year in particular, Tommy Townsend holding a kick. Nobody ever notes the fact that, all right, Super Bowl comes down to a field goal. Hope the long snapper doesn't just skip this one, because that doesn't happen very often, and it's probably a stressful spot to be in. I could also be, I could be a nice backup guard, I think.
The swing attack, like the Nick Allegretti role, would be nice.
But see, he knew so much. Like the fact
that's a lot of work to be in that role.
Yes, Allegretti and Wiley and whoever your sixth lineman is. I guess right now for the Chiefs it's kind of Kingsley, but that's still a lot of effort. I'm more of a Peyton Hendershot, I think. I will fight you on the sidelines, get fined, get cut, and then hang out on the practice squad.
Matt Bushman.
Yes.
Shout out Matt Bushman. Hope he's doing well. There's one more question that Kent had asked us. The Kansas City Chiefs select running back Ashton Jeanty with the 32nd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Joshua Briscoe's reaction is,
I honestly, Kent has been trying to make this a thing on Twitter, and I've engaged with it because it feels rude to ignore him. Guys, we can do this in March. I don't know. I don't know where Genty's supposed to actually go, if he's likely to be there at 32 or not. The stuff I've seen of him has been electric. You think higher than that?
Oh yeah.
Great. Save me the trouble. Yeah. You know what I don't want? For them to draft the 5th best running back in the league at the end of the first round. Like the thing that's crazy and that I sent to Kent that I don't think he ever responded to is, no, that does sound really fun, and I'm really glad we're not having to stress out about if the Chiefs should extend T. Higgins or not. Because that is a conversation we could be having right now. We could be talking about, are the Chiefs going to extend T. Higgins that they would have had on a 5th-year option anyway, for what it's worth?
Right.
Or Michael Pittman right behind him as well. And those are two examples, obviously, that worked out. There was no guarantee that they would be perfect Chiefs. But it came up at the beginning of this show of you mentioned the draft on some levels a crapshoot. It's educated guessing, and you're doing the math and you're doing the work, but that you cannot get everything right. The Chiefs have drafted very, very well, and Kamal Haddon did not even get on this team's practice squad this year. I think he's on the Packers practice squad now, right? You can't get them all right, even at corner, a position that the Chiefs have been notoriously incredible at. So I just don't want to spend a premium pick on a position that's maybe less than a coin flip for that guy to become an impact player. The Chiefs could have drafted Jonathan Taylor at 32, and it would have been better, but I also don't think it would have. I mean, clearly they've done all right since then, not to just fully play the results, but the things the Chiefs have needed have by and large been impact defenders and pass catchers, and they don't have as many of those as they'd like, or didn't before the next couple of drafts, and eventually you trade Tyreek Hill and you restock the cabinet that way. I just don't. You've got to be really, really confident and really, really right to convince me that taking a running back that highly is a good bet for a team to make. I think we have way more evidence than you should need to acknowledge that it clearly is a losing bet far more often than it's a winning one.
Jeanty is very fun player to watch.
Oh yeah, he's a blast.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm a very much a that boy nice watcher.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever seen those memes about people who care about the numbers.
Looking out of both sides of the train track.
Yes.
Staring at the rocks or looking at the sunset. Absolutely. And do that, especially when they're in college.
Yeah.
Whenever the question is okay, so invest the draft capital, yes or no? Again, man, FAU is going to end up having a larger, let me say this, being a better late first round pick than Clyde, if Felix is on the team getting snaps next year. Like, I don't think that you can understate the fact that you need to. I don't think you can be as confident as you need to be to draft a running back in that spot. Like, the Falcons got a really good player in Bijan. Great. And that's a top 10 effort there. You know what they ended up doing? Mortgaging their franchise to get Kirk Cousins. I don't know where the quarterbacks ended up around them anyway, but I don't know. It's a luxury pick thing. But a lot of people tell me, oh, the Chiefs can afford a luxury pick. They can take a running back. They've got everything else. It's like, well, yeah, they do right this second, but you have to plan ahead. And I think that was one of the Chiefs' worst moments of a lack of foresight. And I don't want them to do it again, even if that boy nice, which he is, to be clear.
He is. I think he'll be gone.
I'll watch Bijan happily on somebody else's team. That's fine. The other thing is I do enjoy running back play, and I do think the position is important. Yeah. But we're talking about the Chiefs having one of the most intimidating two-headed monsters in the league if Pacheco comes back healthy with a 7th-round pick and a couch free agent. Do you know why Kareem Hunt is running as efficiently as he is? Because the interior offensive line's a bunch of effing beasts. I don't know what to tell you. One of those is a premium free agent. One of those is a premium draft pick. The other one's a premium draft pick if he didn't have terrifying blood clots. Like, he's your very different reasons. It's like the Tyreek Hill equivalent of, well, yeah, but he was a 6th-round pick. Well, yeah, for some off-the-field reasons. And again, for Trey Smith, it was a medical concern, which is very different.
Very different.
That's how you get there, though. But a guy that had more talent than his draft slot would have indicated. So, I don't know.
And he's going to be a premium free agent as well, by the way.
Yeah, correct. And he will become a premium free agent. Absolutely right.
That's the biggest thing for me is the team. And we talked about this on that football show. The team has like essentially changed their identity in terms of like how they're doing things offensively. And it is built around some of the cornerstone pieces that they have on their team. I do think that's interesting how it's all going to work out with everything going out there. Shout out to everyone who was hanging out in the chat with us. David, Charlie, saw some Hugh up in there.
Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to everybody who asked questions except for Kent. Kent, you can go ahead and shove that one right up your janty.
Yep. Oh, there we go. Jake Davis, thank you as well for hanging out in the chat. I think it's going to do it, Josh. I think we got 21 questions. I'm pretty sure that we answered all 21 questions.
We did exactly 21 questions. We got up to the hour mark pretty much, and I feel like that's a win-win. And we both got a lot of talking about our jackets.
We did talk a lot about jackets. That's going to do it for this week's edition of 21 Questions. Go subscribe to the KCSN Discord, kcsn.substack.com. I guess you subscribe to the Substack to get to the Discord. We'll get there eventually. And then you can ask us more questions there as well and chat with all of us as we hang out on the KCSN Discord. Go get your merch, shopkcsn.com, shopkcsn.com, shopkcsn.com. Go get that. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. I think I got all the housekeeping things out of the way. So, have a good night.
Do we talk over the end of this one too?
Yeah, we can if we want, I guess. I don't know.